So I just happened to see a new Bollywood Hindi movie called Merry Christmas. The movie stars Katrina Kaif and an actor from the south. His name's Vijay Sethupathi. Now I was excited to watch this movie because of the director, Sriram Raghavan. I think that's his name, Sriram Raghavan. He's made movies before that I've seen. Andhadhun is a movie that he made in Hindi with Ayushmann Khurrana and Tabu, I think. That movie was great. Andhadhun was a very good movie. It was also a low budget thriller, just like Merry Christmas is. So I was really excited to watch this movie because of those two reasons, because I've seen Andhadhun and because I trust the director, also because of Katrina Kaif. I like her choices. Katrina Kaif has done other good movies like Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara. She's done other movies with Hrithik Roshan, Bang Bang, the Tiger franchise. Katrina Kaif is really good at selecting movies and scripts. So she was also one of the factors, along with the director Sriram Raghavan. Now, I did not see the trailers or the teasers because I didn't want the trailers or teasers to spoil anything for me. Nowadays you have to be careful because trailers and teasers, they reveal almost everything from the movie. So I decided not to see it. I went into the movie empty-minded with like a fresh mind, not having any baggage of the trailers or teasers or posters. However, I was not disappointed with this movie. However, I expected the movie to be as good as Andhadhun, which is a mistake because it's very hard to catch up to Andhadhun. This movie unfortunately couldn't break the mold of Andhadhun. Merry Christmas is its own movie. It's its own world. Now I could tell you the story. The story is again like Andhadhun. It starts out as a innocent movie. It starts out as a innocent movie that's following Vijay Sethupathi around. That's how it starts, just like Andhadhun. But then there are so many other things that happens in Andhadhun, which takes the movie through another genre, which is crime thriller, and it's the same with Merry Christmas also. The movie starts with an innocent Vijay Sethupathi roaming around on Christmas night, and then it becomes something else. It becomes another crime thriller, similar to Andhadhun. Now I could spoil the story. The movie came out long time ago, so I suppose you don't mind. So I will be spoiling the movie right now, and if you want to watch the movie with a fresh mind, I would suggest that you skip this part or just end the video and then come back later. So, anyways, the story is about Katrina Kaif, who is a single mother. She's raising her daughter by herself, but then her husband, he is a horrible husband. He's an abusive husband. So she decides to end his life. Katrina Kaif's character understands that if her husband is alive, she could never live a good life with her daughter. So she decides to end him, and she makes a great plan. She pretends to be this innocent young mother with her daughter at the movies, but then she turns out to be a killer. That comes very late on into the movie. Vijay Sethupathi plays again another innocent man character. That's what we think of him at first, but then later he becomes something else as well. So both the characters have negative shade, both of them, Katrina Kaif and Vijay Sethupathi. I do not remember the names of the characters because I have no idea. I don't remember. I just know them as Vijay Sethupathi and Katrina Kaif. Anyway, she plans the murder of her husband. She murders him, and then she duplicates the rooms. She has two floors with the same rooms. She owns a bakery, so she sets up a default room to show the police, and then she kills her husband in another room, which is very similar. So it's a really confusing story, but then when you watch it, you get it. So she murders her husband in floor number 1, and then she takes Vijay Sethupathi to floor number 2, where her husband is not around. Her plan was to put this murder on somebody else or to make it look like a suicide. The idea was to have a witness, which is Vijay Sethupathi, or she goes around to the church and then she gets another witness, which is the creep who has a wife and a children, but then he's roaming around with young women. But then he's going around with other women. He is into extramarital affairs and stuff. Anyways, he pretends, the other guy who is like Vijay Sethupathi pretends to be another innocent fellow. Now he comes out straight away as a creep, with the wife and with the kid. Later on in the police station, we get to know that this is his deal. So his entire deal is that he pretends to be unmarried, and he loves extramarital affairs. He loves roaming around with young women, I guess. Anyways, towards the second half of the movie, towards the end of the movie, Vijay Sethupathi decides to team up with Katrina Kaif and help her commit her crime, which is to kill her husband and then make it look like a suicide. The only reason Vijay Sethupathi helped her, I believe, is because she's pretty. If the woman was ugly, nobody would have helped her. They would have helped to put her in prison first. So the movie isn't believable. Andhadhun was not believable either. But then, the suspension of disbelief in that movie was perfect. We could get into the shoes of Ayushmann Khurrana. Played an innocent actor or a singer, I suppose. He was a performer. He was trying to perfect his craft. He was innocent guy, but then when it comes to in that movie, in Andhadhun, we as audience wanted to root for the heroes. The hero being Ayushmann Khurrana's character. But in this movie, in Merry Christmas, we don't feel that same connection with Vijay Sethupathi or with Katrina Kaif. Even though her husband was brutal, even though her husband was abusive, we still don't feel like rooting for Katrina Kaif. Nor did I feel like rooting for Vijay Sethupathi either. Both of them turned out to be killers. He murdered his wife. Vijay Sethupathi murdered his own wife, and now Katrina Kaif is murdering her husband. So it's very hard to connect with those characters. If as the movie progresses, it seems like they were almost being caught. Towards the end, they get caught anyways. Towards the end, the girl starts to speak. This movie misses in one mark, which is the suspension of disbelief. You don't really feel like rooting for the main characters. You don't really feel connected to the main characters. When they get caught in the police station, you don't feel bad for them. You feel like, yeah, they murdered, fuck 'em, who gives a shit. That's how I felt watching the movie. I didn't feel like I was being connected. I didn't feel the connection towards the character. I didn't have any sympathy for the characters, which is awful. Because when you make a movie, when you make a crime thriller, you want your audience to feel connected to the characters, to have sympathy for the characters. Unfortunately, in Merry Christmas, you don't feel that connection. There is no suspension of disbelief. Everything seems unnatural. The entire plan of Katrina Kaif to murder her husband, make 2 floors of the same building, have a witness, Vijay Sethupathi, or even the other creep. There is no grounded. It's not really grounded in true emotion. The police won't behave that way. When a suicide happens or when a murder happens, the first one you suspect is the wife. If the husband dies, you would suspect the wife. If the wife dies, you suspect the husband. That's how it goes. But then everything in the movie felt unnatural. It didn't feel real like Andhadhun. Andhadhun felt real. Andhadhun was a way better movie than Merry Christmas. However, if you go into this movie with an open mind, you could be engaged in the story. You could be engaged with the screenplay. It's not a bad movie. But then if you compare it with Andhadhun, which is Sriram Raghavan's previous movie, it's not as good as Andhadhun. However, I would give it, out of 10, I think I would give it a solid 7 or even an 8, because it's a low budget movie. It's a low budget, just like Andhadhun. Andhadhun also was a small budget movie. They went from set to set. So this movie is the same. It's a low budget crime thriller. If you like those kind of movies, if you like low budget crime thrillers, then definitely go and watch Merry Christmas. It's a great time. But if you compare it with Andhadhun, Sriram Raghavan's previous movie, Andhadhun, or any other movie that he's done before, it's not as good as Andhadhun. That's the only problem Merry Christmas has. So go watch the movie. Happy Christmas.